talking about some of the hot topics, and these are trends that you've been seeing, fermented foods being one of them. What are the benefits of having fermented foods in your diet?
So with the fermented foods, you're essentially providing a natural probiotic to your digestive tract, which will help aid in breaking down and digesting your foods properly.
Okay, so what do we have? Kombucha tea?
Kombucha tea here, we've got kimchi and sauerkraut. So usually when you look at different cultures in the world, you've got some fermented food that has been in place, and kefir is a fermented, like a yogurt type drink.
It's like the champagne of yogurts. Okay, so what is kombucha? It's a root, right?
It's a tea base, and it's a fermented tea. So you can find different ones. This one is a ginger one here. This one has a chlorophyll in it. When you go into the foods, adding a little bit of kimchi or sauerkraut to your plate, to your meal, on top of soups are fantastic with the sauerkraut.
Yeah. I've heard there are weight loss properties with fermented foods. Is that correct?
The way I see it with fermented foods is that if it's helping your digestion, typically the bloating will improve. And if your bloating goes away, typically you feel a little bit better, right?
A little bit better, a little bit slimmer. Oh, right. Okay, how about raw foods?
So raw foods, the idea behind raw foods is that these foods are prepared where they're not heated beyond a certain temperature. The idea around that is that it preserves the nutrients and the enzymes that are in these foods. So kale chips are pretty common these days. These are raw kale chips here. These crackers here are made in BC. They're fantastic because they're nice and nutrient dense. So if you're going to have a cracker, have something that's going to give you some healthy fats, some extra fiber, a little bit extra nutrients in there, rather than just grabbing something that won't be as nutrient dense as a snack.
Okay, fantastic. Sprouted grains. What is a sprouted grain?
So sprouted grain is essentially, you soak grains and nuts in water, you rinse them until they essentially start to sprout. Then you can use them. So in this one in the black bag there, it actually is just the nuts itself that's been sprouted. In the Roggles here is like a cracker based one where the buckwheat in it has been sprouted. When grains and nuts are sprouted, again, it helps with that digestion, helps break down some of the outside of the seed to make it a little bit easier to digest and absorb the nutrients that it provides.
Okay, so these are the hot topics that you're seeing through the clinic.
These are the questions that I see, so sometimes it's hard to stay on top of it, but it's good to know. Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. Good alternatives here. I'm going to take these kale chips and maybe bring them back for Andy, because we all know how much he loves kale.
Yeah, Andy and kale. Peas in a pod.